Will Bitcoin hit its all-time high before the halving? That's what we want to talk about today on Crypto Intel. My name is Max. I'm your guide. Let's get started. So what I'd like to do, first take a look at the broad chart going on the monthly time frame. And when we do that, you can see that Bitcoin now is the red lines here are the halvings. This is the halving for this year coming up in April. The halving in the last cycle was in May of 2020, and the one before that was in July of 2016, and the one before that was in, I think it was November of 2012. So these are the halvings. The blue lines represent the all-time highs from the halving. And you can see that if we draw a line from the previous all-time high down through to the halving, you can see that there's a trend line here. And what has happened in the past is that Bitcoin has not broken this trend line on a closing basis until after the halving. You can see that right here. Again, in the 2017 bull run, you can see Bitcoin didn't break this trend line until after the halving right here. In the past run up, the past bull run, again, Bitcoin didn't go past this trend line until after the halving right here. But now you can see that in this month, it might be different. Now, this is a monthly chart. So if we look, you can see that Bitcoin last month tried to break past it, but came back down, didn't get past this trend line. But in this month so far, we are well past it. This trend line right now is at around $40,000. And so Bitcoin is well above that at this time at about $52,000. Now, we still have 2 weeks left in the month. But here's the key. If Bitcoin does stay above this trend line and close the monthly above the trend line, that is going to mark a difference between every other cycle so far. And it's showing that Bitcoin is actually, the market cycle, the bull run for Bitcoin is actually accelerating. It's moving faster. Now, what could be the reason for this? Well, it's very simple. If we look here, we can see that, an estimated 75% of new Bitcoin investments are coming from the 10 spot Bitcoin ETFs. And this is really the key, because usually when we have big bull runs, it's fueled by leverage. It's fueled by people, speculators basically, coming in and using leverage to have profits from Bitcoin as it goes up. But this bull run that we're seeing right now, this pre-bull run before we get into the parabolic run up, this is not being fueled by leverage. It's being fueled by people coming into Bitcoin for the first time, the ETFs. And the vast majority of those people are people who are not speculating but are buying for the long term. They're putting this into their portfolio. They're putting 1 or 2% of their portfolio, and they're moving it from gold. They're moving it maybe from some bonds into Bitcoin because of the fact that Bitcoin is the fastest moving asset. Even though it's very volatile, it is the best asset in the past 10 years. So it does really increase the value of your portfolio to have 1 to 5% in there. If you're just the average investor, don't even know about Bitcoin, don't even care about Bitcoin, but just care about returns. And so what you're seeing this time is Bitcoin rise being fueled by these type of investors. These are the people who are putting money into the ETFs. Now, if we go back to the chart, you can see that, and let's go to a weekly. Let's go down one slide here to a weekly, and you can see that this run here that we're seeing in the past, few months from really right here from, the beginning of the year to now, you can see that this is really a parabola. It's moving very sharply. And this is a lot different than in the past. Of course, around this time frame before the halving, we did in the 2020 run up, we had the COVID, and then of course we did have a run up, but it wasn't breaking through this diagonal line, not until well after the halving. The halving the last time came in May, and we didn't really break through it on a weekly or monthly basis until July. So it was a number of months before it broke through. And in the bull cycle before that, we had a run up, but we didn't break it through again. So you can see that this time might be different. Another thing that's different is that you can see that let me just make this a little bit smaller. You can see that in the two previous cycles, we've touched the bottom twice. We had a double bottom here. This is in the 2016 run up before the big run up, and then the last one we had a double bottom here. Now, if we were to have a double bottom this time around, Bitcoin would have to go from 52, 53 all the way down to 16,000. It's possible, but it's very highly unlikely. So it's highly unlikely that we're going to see a double bottom this time around. This is another thing that makes this cycle a little bit different. So the combination of the ETFs and new money coming in, and remember, the new money coming in right now it's just the start of the new money coming in, because the way it works is when you have an ETF, especially with organizations like BlackRock and Fidelity, they have a sales force that goes out, and they also have software that will automatically allocate certain assets in a portfolio. And the salespeople and the allocation of assets through software, that hasn't even happened yet, or it's just beginning. So it looks like the probabilities are that we are more than likely, I would say, going to reach an all-time high, maybe even before the halving, and if not, shortly thereafter. Now, there could be a dip. Could be that we come up here and then dip back down to this line around 40,000 and then go up from there. That's possible. That is what has happened in the past, where we've broken the line and then come down to it. You can't see it very clearly here, but there's a wick that comes down and touches us here. So that is also a probability, and you have to be ready for that. But if we look at, let's just take a look at the ETFs. Let's look at IBIT. That's the biggest one, and you can see there isn't much data here on the weekly. But let's go to the daily, and you can see what's happening from a pure charting perspective. We can see that let me just draw this for you. When you have something like this, a rounded bottom, that portends good for a move up. And if you have another thing like this, that's what they call a cup and handle. So look out for this on the ETFs. This will be a sign also that Bitcoin is moving up more quickly and maybe even more rapidly than in previous halving cycles. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for joining. If you like the content, please give us a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.